Hat, sunglasses, Pepsi, notes, sources, thick skin. Check. You already know. Let's go. Welcome to Golden Blue today, everybody. This is a college football channel. So if you like college football, hit the like and subscribe button. It's that simple. Also, send gear to represent your team and be a part of my background forever. All you have to do is send it to P.O. Box 360, Liberty, South Carolina 29657. As I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do for this video, I wanted to kind of think outside the box. Now, remember what I was talking about last night on my live show as far as creating my own bowl matchups. So that's what I'm going to do with this particular video. Now, there's a few things to keep in mind. First thing is I don't care about conference tie-ins. I'm going away with that. I'm going for the best possible matchups that I can come up with between two teams that I think would be a good game and people would actually want to watch. So conference tie-ins, don't care about it. So if I see comments in the comment section about conference tie-ins, I'm going to ignore you. I'm just letting you know right now, if you talk about conference tie-ins, I'm going to ignore you. The second thing is I'm leaving out Michigan, Georgia, TCU, and USC. For the sake of argument, I'm going to say that those four make the playoffs. You can't use the same team twice. Once you use a team, you can't use that team again. And the last thing is I wasn't expecting this as I was making these bowl matchups. There's not enough teams with a winning record to make up for every bowl. So there just might be several 5-7 teams that still make a bowl, which means West Virginia still has a chance to make a bowl. Wow, we don't deserve it. And I'm not particularly thrilled about us going to a bowl because we had a 5-7 season, but still we got a shot. So I have several 5-7 teams making a bowl because there's not enough teams with at least a 500 record to make up these bowl matchups. But still there has to be some losers when it comes to those 5-7 teams. So these are the 5-7 teams that did not make the cut at all. Tulsa, FAU, Rice, UTEP, Kent State, Western Michigan, Ball State, UNLV, and the last two might make you laugh, Auburn and Texas A&M. You guys have too much talent to be going 5-7, so I'm not rewarding you with the bowl bid. Let's start with the bottom bowls and work our way up. First up, the Birmingham Bowl. Arizona 5-7, had a much better year this year, still not great, against Vanderbilt, who also went 5-7. I was not expecting Vanderbilt to go 5-7, so I have Arizona versus Vanderbilt, and I do think people would want to watch this game. These are two underdogs that are trying to finish their regular season with a bowl win, even though they both have losing records. I think this is a matchup that people would want to see. The next bowl is the First Responders Bowl. Georgia Tech finished the regular season 5-7 against Michigan State, who also finished the regular season 5-7. For Georgia Tech, I think they overperformed. If you look at their schedule, they should not have gone 5-7. So I think they're on the uptick. For Michigan State, they took that massive step backwards that I knew that they would. Finishing 5-7, they look way worse than last year. But I think Georgia Tech and Michigan State is an intriguing matchup, and I think people would watch it. The next matchup is the Camellia Bowl. This is where I have the Miami Hurricanes, who finished the regular season 5-7, against the West Virginia Mountaineers, who also finished the regular season 5-7. I think this would be a great matchup. Both of these teams having a massive letdown year. A lot of people thought that Miami was going to have a 10-win season. I thought West Virginia was going to have a 9-3 season. So this could be called the letdown bowl. But I still think people would tune in to watch this game. And I have several Miami YouTubers who I consider friends that I think would be awesome to be able to do a show together with them about this bowl. The next bowl is the Independence Bowl. Now we're starting to get into teams that actually finish the season without a losing record. The Independence Bowl, Memphis 6-6, taking on Georgia Southern, who also finished the regular season 6-6. I'm just trying to make lemonade out of lemons. I don't think anybody would be interested in this, but I don't think you can match those two teams up with anybody, and it would create any type of buzz. The next bowl is the Quick Lane Bowl. I have Southern Miss, who finished 6-6, against Utah State, who finished 6-6. Again, this is just mixed matching teams that qualified for a bowl, trying to come up with the best matchup. The next bowl is the Hawaii Bowl. UAB, who finished the regular season 6-6, and Miami of Ohio, who also finished 6-6. Once again, not a great matchup, but hey, they qualified for a bowl. Why not match them up? Next up, the Armed Forces Bowl. Air Force, who finished 9-3, against Middle Tennessee, who finished 7-5. This actually could be an interesting bowl. I know Middle Tennessee isn't a great draw, but I think these two brands would coexist quite nicely on the field. I think it would be an entertaining football game. The next bowl is the Gasparilla Bowl. I have North Texas, who finished 7-5, against Eastern Michigan, who finished 8-4. One of the best teams out of Conference USA going up against one of the best teams out of the MAC. Could be a good matchup. I don't know if people would be interested in it, but I think it would make a decent bowl. Next up, the New Orleans Bowl. East Carolina Louisiana, who finished 7-5, against Kansas, who finished 6-6. I think this would be an intriguing matchup. I think both of these teams overperformed this year. Nobody expected them to be bowl eligible at the end of the year, and I think both of these teams look good. East Carolina picked up a couple wins that they shouldn't have, and of course Kansas had a breakout year. I do think people would watch this football game. Next up, the Boca Raton Bowl. Toledo against San Jose State. Toledo 7-5, San Jose State 7-4. Not a great matchup. I'm doing the best I can. Next up, the Idaho Potato Bowl. Appalachian State versus San Diego State. Appalachian State finished 6-6. San Diego State finished 7-5. Both of those finished well under expectations, but I think matching up Appalachian State with San Diego State would be a great bowl matchup, and I think a lot of people would like to see that. Next up, the Myrtle Beach Bowl. UConn finishing 6-6 against Louisiana, who finished 6-6. Not really interested in this bowl matchup, but I'm doing the best I can with some of these names that a lot of people don't really care about. Next up, the Frisco Bowl. I do think this could be an interesting bowl. Houston finishing 7-5 against Western Kentucky, who finished 8-5. The Fighting Dana Holgersons of Houston, they can score a lot of points, but their defense is trash. Western Kentucky had a much better year than what I anticipated, so I would enjoy watching Western Kentucky beating the dog crap out of Houston. I would tune in to watch that game. No offense to my Houston subscribers. I just don't like Dana Holgerson. Next up, the Vegas Bowl. I have Wyoming, who finished 7-5 against Ohio, who finished 9-3. Not a great matchup. I don't think a lot of people would watch this, but hey, I had to put them somewhere. Next up, the Lending Tree Bowl. SMU, who finished 7-5 against South Alabama, who finished 10-2. I actually think this bowl could be a tremendous bowl. South Alabama almost beat UCLA. SMU gave TCU some fits. I think this could be a fireworks type of game. Now we're starting to get into bowls that more people will be interested in. The LA Bowl. Wake Forest, who finished 7-5 against Arkansas, who finished 6-6. This is a great ACC versus SEC matchup, and I think people would want to see it. Next bowl is the Fenway Bowl. I have Baylor, who finished 6-6 against Syracuse, who finished 7-5. You have Baylor with the massive step back this year, which I thought they were going to take a step back, but not that big, and Syracuse taking a step forward. This would be a letdown bowl for Baylor, but a good bowl for Syracuse. I think it could be a very entertaining matchup. The next bowl is the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Wisconsin finishing 6-6 against Oklahoma, who finished 6-6. Two big-time brands that had big-time letdown years, but they have massive fan bases, and I think the TV audience would be pretty big for this bowl matchup. I like it. Next bowl is New Mexico Bowl. I have BYU, who finished 7-5 against UTSA, who finished 10-2. Not that great of a matchup, but I do think it could be a good game, so it could be an underrated bowl game. Next up is the Cure Bowl. I have Troy, who finished 10-2 against Liberty, who finished 8-4. I actually think this bowl could be more interesting than the New Mexico Bowl. Liberty's still a good team, and Troy had a 10-win season, the first 10-win season that they've had since Neil Brown left. Next up, the Bahamas Bowl. I like this matchup a lot. Fresno State, who finished 8-4 against Marshall, who finished 8-4. I think this would be an electrifying game. I think a lot of people want to see it, and if you miss out on this bowl game, if it happened, you'll probably be sorry you missed it. Next up is the Arizona Bowl. Coastal Carolina, who finished 9-2 against Florida, who finished 6-6. I don't know about you, but I would tune in to watch that game to see if Coastal Carolina can beat mighty Florida. The next bowl is the ReliaQuest Bowl, whatever that is. I have James Madison, who finished 8-3 against Missouri, who finished 6-6. Missouri does get bowl eligible. I think James Madison would be a great matchup for Missouri. I would tune in to watch that game for sure. Next bowl is the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. I have Minnesota, who finished 8-4 against Boise State, who finished 9-3. I really like this matchup. I think it's strength versus strength. You could see a high-scoring game or a low-scoring game, depending on which strength won. So for a lower tier bowl, I like that matchup. The next bowl is the Military Bowl. I have NC State, who finished 8-4 against Iowa, who finished 7-5. This would be a defensive game for the ages. Final score could be like 3-2 or 4-3, something like that. But it's still an entertaining game. As low as that point total is, it would still be an entertaining game, and I would definitely watch it. The next bowl is the Texas Bowl. I have Texas Tech, who finished 7-5 against Louisville, who finished 7-5. And this would be the complete opposite. This would be all offense. Final score could be like 60-58 or 65-62, something like that. So I would most definitely tune in to watch Texas Tech versus Louisville in the Texas Bowl. The next bowl is the Liberty Bowl. I have Kentucky, who finished 7-5 against Maryland, who finished 7-5. Both of these teams are dangerous teams. They could have had a higher win total, but they had some letdown games. So I think this would be a tremendous matchup. Two fan bases that would be interested in this bowl game. And I would actually be interested in this bowl game as well. The Holiday Bowl. Illinois, who finished 8-4 against Washington State, who finished 7-5. So you have Illinois, who's great on the defensive side of the ball, against Washington State, who's good on offensive side of the ball. I think this is a great matchup. I'm trying to keep away from blowouts. All these matchups that I put together, I'm trying to keep away from blowouts, and I think this would be a tight, very entertaining game. Next bowl is the Pinstripe Bowl. Duke, who finished 8-4. Wow, a lot of people don't don't even realize that, against Oklahoma State, who finished 7-5. I would expect Duke to win this football game, but Oklahoma State is good enough to keep this a competitive game and possibly upset Duke. Next bowl is the Cheez-It Bowl. I have Pitt, who finished 8-4, against Cincinnati, who finished 9-3. These two teams are mild rivals, and I think it would be a very competitive game, and it would have some slight bragging rights to it as well. I really like that matchup. I hope this happens in real life. I would watch this football game, because I don't like either team, to be honest with you. The next bowl is the Music City Bowl. I have UCF, who finished 9-3, against Ole Miss, who finished 8-4. I think this could be an underrated bowl game that could be absolutely tremendous. I think UCF is most definitely capable of beating Ole Miss, but we've seen some games where Ole Miss has looked absolutely unstoppable on offense, so it just depends on which Ole Miss we get. I think it'd be a good game. Now we're getting into the very interesting bowls. Next bowl is the Sun Bowl. Tulane, who finished 10-2, against UCLA, who finished 9-3. I predicted UCLA to have a 10-win season. They fell 1 win short. I got laughed at. UCLA will be lucky to make a bowl, but they had way too much coming back to be that bad. And then Tulane looks to be the best group of 5 team. I think this would be an amazing bowl, and I would most definitely watch this bowl. The next bowl is the Alamo Bowl. I have Texas, who finished 8-4, against Notre Dame, who finished 8-4. Two of the biggest brands in all of college football clashing. This definitely has bragging rights written all over it, and the TV ratings for this particular bowl would be absolutely bonkers. The next bowl is the Gator Bowl. I have Purdue, who finished 8-4, against North Carolina, who finished 9-3. Both of these two teams ended up in their conference championships, but I expect both of them to lose, so why not put them up against each other? And I think it would be a good game. Pretty good matchup right there. Next bowl is the Motor City Bowl. Oregon State, who finished 9-3, against Mississippi State, who finished 8-4. I think this has offensive fireworks written all over it. I would tune in and I would be interested in Oregon State versus Mississippi State. The next bowl is the Citrus Bowl. What about this one, guys? South Carolina, who finished 8-4, against Utah, who finished 9-3. I think this is a very evenly matched bowl game, and South Carolina is finishing very, very hot. They could very well upset Utah. I would have Utah as the favorite, but don't count out South Carolina. And I think this game would be entertaining down to the wire. The next bowl I have is the Cotton Bowl. I have Ohio State, who finished 11-1, against LSU, who finished 9-3. Ohio State, their only loss was against Michigan, so they missed the Big Ten championship. LSU, they're in the SEC championship, but I expect them to lose to Georgia. This is a great matchup. These two teams have history, and the TV ratings would be through the roof. Next bowl is the Sugar Bowl. I have Florida State, who finished 9-3, against Penn State, who finished 10-2. These two teams also have history. This bowl has tradition written all over it, and the TV audience is most definitely there. There would be a lot of interest in this bowl game. I'd like to see Florida State versus Penn State. Next bowl is the Peach Bowl. I have Alabama, who finished 10-2, against Oregon, who finished 9-3. Now, if this was the normal Alabama, this would be a mismatch, and I would say Alabama by 3 touchdowns, but Alabama doesn't look right this year. They are having a down year, so I think this would be a very competitive game, and a lot of people would tune in to watch Alabama-Oregon in the Peach Bowl. 2 more bowls, guys. First one is the Rose Bowl. I have Kansas State, who finished 9-3, against Washington, who finished 10-2. Two teams that have surprised most people, but if you looked at my preseason prediction, I had Kansas State as a dark horse in the Big 12, and what do you know? They're in the Big 12 championship. And I had Washington having a 10-win season, so they didn't surprise me at all, and I think this would be an amazing matchup. Finally, the Orange Bowl. The two teams that I picked out for the Orange Bowl, well, they fit the Orange Bowl. I have Clemson, who finished 10-2, against Tennessee, who finished 10-2. Orange versus Orange, the ultimate Orange Bowl. And I'm telling you, the TV ratings for this particular bowl would be absolutely insane. So there you go. Y'all let me know in the comments section what you think about my bowl matchups. And if there's a few you didn't like, tell me how you would switch it up. That's all I got for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.